All right, so it's been a couple of weeks now since we did our last video.
Yes.
And about 3 months almost, or 3 weeks, almost a month since you got your diagnosis of alpha-gal allergy. So if you didn't get a chance to watch our previous video on alpha-gal allergy, we'll provide a link for that. We've got a few things to talk about. For one thing, your weight. How's your weight doing?
I'm weighing between 98 right now and 99, so I gained roughly 3.5, 4 pounds in about 2.5 weeks, which isn't bad considering I've had a very slim diet to choose from to do so. I eat a lot of grains, a lot of oats. I've recently started adding in a lot more fruit, and that's been helping get the numbers up. Of course, I'm eating a lot of turkey, a lot of chicken, a lot of fish, and I'm getting very tired of it.
This is okay. You talk a lot about veganism. You're not now. You didn't voluntarily become a vegan.
No.
But you have to look at packaging to see if it's vegan. Is that
all the time? Every package of everything you buy. I mean, even the most minute things, which is why I have these in front of me. Okay, these are traditional seasonings.
Spices.
Yeah, they're spices.
Those would be vegan, wouldn't they?
No, none
Why
of these
not?
are. Every single one of these has components that come from meat derivatives. It could be lactose powders, magnesium stearates, just things that make the powders flow well. The one that really surprised me that's not vegan is Lowry seasoned salt. But every one of these, my ethnic creations, I mean, you just got to really, things even as small as this, you just got to read the labels, and you've got to decide before you buy anything, whether or not there's any kind of meat derivative in it. It really is a job. It's a full-time job.
It really does get down to the micro level on this allergy.
Yep.
So on the one hand, you're looking for things that are vegan, but you said you're eating chicken and fish,
Right.
and you told, I think, what was the other thing you told me you could eat?
I eat a lot of turkey.
But you could eat turtle, is that right?
I could, yes.
Okay, and
I would.
or steak.
Yes,
Yes.
and I would eat that too.
Yes, presumably you could. I mean, as far as we know, you can.
Right.
So you gained a little weight,
Yes.
but now, I mean, this thing has really emptied you. Is that right?
Yes.
I mean, you got where you couldn't.
Well, it's exhausting, and the reason that it is exhausting, and people don't realize this, is this isn't a normal allergy. This is an allergen that's constantly in your body. Because it's constantly in your body, it means that your body is going to continue to create histamines at all times. Okay, you can have an attack from alpha-gal from eating nothing at all. It's just a matter of whether or not your histamine levels on that particular day or evening went up enough to send you to the ER, because the alpha-gal never leaves your system. Let's take strawberries as an example. If a person is allergic to a strawberry and they eat a strawberry, they have the normal allergic response to it, which would be the response to its protein. Okay, you go to the ER gives you a shot, it's taken care of, and the strawberry leaves your system. The strawberry leaves your system and you're okay again and everything's hunky-dory. Well, with alpha-gal, it never leaves your system. So your body is constantly becoming exhausted from having to create histamines to protect you against the alpha-gal that's still there lingering in your body.
And that's from years of consuming.
Possibly.
Your whole life, you ate meat.
Possibly.
That would have the alpha-gal, correct?
Possibly it's from that, or possibly it's from the allergy to the carbohydrate. They don't know a lot about why yet. All they know is that once the alpha-gal is in your system, it follows the same line as any other bloodborne pathogen. Take HIV, for example. Once HIV is in your bloodstream, HIV does not leave your bloodstream. Alpha-gal is the same, only they hope eventually, and with a lot of people it does eventually leave, but not all of them. Some people will have this and have to deal with it for the rest of their lives. Unfortunately, I'm probably going to be one of them.
But to be clear, people generally have the alpha gal. Unless you're a vegan, you consume the alpha gal enzyme, which is
Oh, okay.
attached
Are
to-
you leading in? Could it have been possible that consuming meats with alpha gal
all your life.
all your life could have
It's-
caused the
has-
allergy?
No, that it's built up in your system, and now your body is attacking that with the histamines.
It's possible. They're looking into a lot of that right now. Dr. Commons and Dr. Platts Mills are looking into that right now in relation to some derivatives in vaccinations, some derivatives in other medications. It has been linked to medications. There's still about 20% of the alpha-gal community out there that doesn't know how they contrived the disease. They were never bitten by a tick. So there has to be something else that's going on. They haven't figured that piece of the puzzle out yet, but they are working on it. You know, I have faith that they'll figure something out. My hope is that they'll come up with a cure.
Yeah, would be nice, wouldn't
Right,
it?
and not just so I can eat meat, but just so
So-
I can feel well again, because like I said, I have to take antihistamines every single day to keep my histamine levels down so that I won't go into any kind of allergic response or anaphylaxis.
Okay, and so it is an allergy
That's
to
ongoing.
meats, to mammal meats,
Right.
to the believed to be the allergy to the
Well,
enzyme in the animal
well,
mammal
people are
meats.
now beginning to report that they're having alpha-gal responses to other foods as well.
Okay,
Some people are having alpha-gal responses to things that they shouldn't, like soy and gluten and things that aren't meat.
And you've had that problem, right?
Yes, I have. I've had some problems
So-
a couple of times with chicken, which doesn't even contain.
so
the
it's really
alpha-gal.
not good enough. It's not enough for you to look and see the vegan label, because a lot of foods are marked for vegans.
Yes.
If they are vegan, they might say vegan on them, but that's really not good enough for you, is it?
No.
Not at this point in your.
No, not really,
Oh.
because a lot of vegan items contain soy and gluten, and like I said,
For you, that's a problem,
they're calling
and it wasn't before.
Right. They're calling it a crossover allergy, but I don't think that's what it is exactly. I think that you're just sensitive to it, and because your body already is putting out a lot of histamines to fight the alpha-gal, it puts out even more when you are exposed to those things as well. So you're kind of almost on the edge of an autoimmune response. Your body's pretty much going to start fighting anything as an invader. And one of the main reasons that mine is doing it, and more scientists are linking it to it, is all of the antacids that they tried to put me on at the beginning of this. Those are now being linked to food allergies because they reduce the amount of stomach acid that's in your stomach, which you actually need to digest things at a time when my digestion was very poor, and it wasn't because I had too much stomach acid. So it's predisposed me to a few more food allergies than I probably had before.
Okay, so again, you've gained a little weight.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that though is just that your stomach's now full.
Right, I mean,
So-
yeah, and I constantly still do get, I still do get the acid reflux. And the reason that I still get the acid reflux is because right up here, through here, and in the back of my throat, constantly pouring down the back of my throat are histamines. And you're going to swallow them, you can't help swallowing them. It doesn't matter how many antihistamines I take, it's still more going to be created. Histamines upset your stomach, and that's all there is to it. The acid reflux, what feels like acid reflux is more like a heartburn, and it's because of all of this backwash and other things that are constantly going down my throat. The histamines are going into my lungs, creating problems with my breathing, creating coughing, clearing my throat all the time, and also all the way down into my stomach because you constantly you swallow these things down. Histamines are not good for your stomach. They're not good for your digestive system either.
Okay, and I think you've had some dental problems as well?
Yes, the acid reflux that I did suffer, and I'm still having it now and then, all through this past year and a half, has eaten all of my bottom teeth at the root level on the insides where I didn't see where it was going on. So now my teeth are going to start breaking at the gum level. I'm told that I won't hold on to my bottom teeth much longer. They'll have to be replaced. That's kind of, you know what, at this point, it's a small price to pay to feel better, because it's created so many cavities and pain and infection in the jaw anyway. I'll probably be glad to see them gone. It still stinks, you know. It's
and
not
then that can further restrict your diet once you lose teeth.
Right, because you cannot chew the food with prosthesis as well as you could your natural teeth. Of course not.
And I think last time we talked, you were more or less on a liquid diet.
Yes.
You switched to some solid food?
I am eating some solid food. I do a lot of smoothies that involve thickening them with wonderful tasting things. I mean, you'd be amazed at what you can do with quinoa and with oats and different rices when you add different almond or nut milks to them, a little vanilla, some brown sugar, some fruit juices. I mean, you know, there are a whole variety of yummy tasting things that I add to my diet daily to poke a little bit more protein in there.
Okay. Now, we want to talk a little bit about some of the information that we've
Right, I made a
across.
promise that if I started doing videos again, what there seems to be is a lack out there of good information for alpha-gal people on what medications in an emergency situation should you be hospitalized, should you allow or not allow yourself to risk taking or risk being given to you.
But isn't there like a website which just got like a list of all these medicines?
Not as of yet. They're working on it. If you go to
Okay.
the pages on Alpha-Gal Awareness, they'll tell you it's a work in progress.
How many people have this?
There are over 5,000 people with Alpha-Gal in the United States right now. That's roughly twice as many as there is the Zika virus that they're also concerned with.
Yeah, but and that's people that have been officially diagnosed. But you had such a hard time getting diagnosed, even getting tested.
Right.
You're finally you come across a doctor who's good enough to test you. I just wonder how many other people have this that don't even know.
Thousands. There are thousands out there. If you go to a doctor's site, they will tell you that they feel that there are probably thousands more out there. Particularly the doctor from Australia feels that way. There where she's been having problems north of Sydney. She's very, very concerned that there are a lot more, because I mean, with people with low numbers, it mainly manifests itself as, in the beginning, as just severe digestive issues. So it masks itself as something else. So then a doctor does what they did for me. They prescribe that person a bunch of antacids, which actually makes the problem worse. And as a result of that, a person will eventually run their numbers of the meat that they're allergic to up far enough to where they will have an anaphylactic reaction. They will end up in the hospital. Most will end up in the hospital many times, several times like I have, before they finally get a diagnosis. Now they're more aware of it in Australia now than they are here. I wish they were more aware of it here. Part of the reasons that we're doing these videos is so that they can become more aware of it here.
Yeah, and like I said, you had a hard time just getting somebody to run the test.
Right.
They finally ran the test, and sure enough, you had it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we looked at some maps, and even there was one webpage that just drove me crazy. It said, "Oh, this is in the southeast of the United States," and we found it was in
Texas, Oregon, Minnesota,
the southeast,
Maine.
I mean, and Hawaii.
Yes, there are even a couple
It
of
was
cases
even found in Hawaii. So if they're not testing in these places, how are people getting diagnosed there? It's probably like you did, where you demanded to be tested.
Right.
So, and then the other thing I want to bring up, this really just came about since 2009. I mean, prior to 2009.
Well, there are people on the forums that claim that they've had this for over 20 years.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think that it came really on the scene in 2009 when two doctors, Dr. Platts Mills and Dr. Commons, were doing some experiments with a particular drug that they were using on cancer patients, and discovered that that drug was causing them to have this alpha-gal response. And then when they cross-referenced those patients, and then Dr. Platts Mills got alpha-gal himself, they discovered that those patients, a lot of them, had also been exposed to ticks. So that was about 2008, 2009. So the disease could have been around about a decade longer than that, and nobody knew what it was then because no one had put a name to it yet. And that's what Dr. Platts Mills and Dr. Commons are famous for. They finally put a name to the disease.
Okay, so what have you here? You have something you brought.
Well, every time we make a video, I'm going to give alpha-gal sufferers or people who think that they might have alpha-gal sufferers a beginning of a database in case of an emergency, or even not an emergency, a hospital stay, medications that you likely should not let them give you if you have alpha-gal. The ones this week I'm concentrating the most are gelatin based, and gelatin of the three is probably the most potent to any person with alpha-gal. So I'll give you a short list.
Just as a disclaimer here, this is not an official list, and by no means covers everything.
It's just a start, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, this is what it says. This is gelatin content of vaccines licensed in the United States as of 2008. Vaccine trade name and quantity per dose, okay? And the first ones I'm going to give you that contain gelatin, you should not let them give you this if you have alpha-gal, are the ones for influenza. Fluzone, you can see, even if you have to back it up and look closer, Flumist and Quadrivalent. Is that how you would pronounce that?
Well, I'm not sure how you would.
These three flu shots contain gelatin, and they contain pretty good sized portions of gelatins. There are flu shots available that do not contain gelatins, so choose one of those. Do not let them give you one of these.
If you have the allergy, if you have the alpha-gal allergy.
Right. This
is not to suggest that this would cause the problem.
No. This is DTAP. The actual name is Trapedia. And you can see at a very small level, you should not have this. This is your standard diphtheria, tetanus, acellular pertussis vaccination. So in other words, if you're bitten by a dog and they want to give you a vaccination, nah, you shouldn't let them do that.
Okay, here, let me, I'm gonna hold this up because I know if you're watching this on YouTube, you might be able to see in the more information below the video, this information. But I want to, if you're on mobile, you might not be able to see that. But I will try to get this onto the more information. And this was the last one you were pointing out for the flu shot.
Right.
So be very careful
Right.
with this stuff if you've got alpha-gal.
Measles, mumps, and rubella, called the MMR2. Varicella would be your main one. Varivax. Okay, you can see both these name brands here and the amounts that you shouldn't give. You shouldn't have any of it, but that's usually the amounts they give for it.
Okay.
Okay, there are other available without gelatin. Like I said, there are always variations of these medications, and you can find them without gelatin. Very few exceptions, and that would be the current vaccination for rabies.
And we're not
So
we're
you
not
don't want to
medical.
get rabies if you have alpha-gal.
Just to make clear, we're not medical professionals here.
Right.
This is Nettie talking from her experience
And
about
my
what she
research.
shouldn't take.
This is shingles vaccination. Zostavax. Okay. It's got gelatin.
And this is
If
not
you've
the
got
same.
alpha-gal, don't take it. And
Yeah, I'll
then,
hold that up too. And it's not to say that the others are necessarily going to be good for you. I mean, you just we need more research. This is just a beginning list. And I know that they're putting, somebody's working, I hope somebody's working on a really professional, official list for you guys.
Well, God knows I am. This is yellow fever. Name, YFX. Contains a lot of gelatin. There is another medication for yellow fever that does not. You should use it. And like I said, right now, the only variation I haven't been able to find on any of the medications, I haven't been able to find any vaccination at all for rabies that does not contain gelatin. If you have alpha-gal, don't go playing with bats.
Yikes.
Right.
Well, you don't want rabies.
Right.
So.
The next time I will come up with a common list of medications that they would commonly give you in vaccinations in the hospital that might contain magnesium stearate and or lactose monohydrate.
Yes, one of the things I know that a lot of things in the pill form you found.
Avoid them.
Because, why is that?
Because they will lie to you about the content that's in them. I've had 3 different doctors prescribe me medications. I talked to the pharmacists, and the pharmacists assured me that they did not have what I thought was in them, and they did have it. And I don't know why, if they're either misinformed or if they're not smart enough to know whether or not, because there are 2 forms of magnesium stearate. You can have one that's vegetable sourced, or you can have the meat sourced.
Oh, really?
Yes. And the vegetable sourced one, by the way, comes from soy. So if you have a soy allergy, you don't want to be taking magnesium stearate. So soy is the vegetable based one, and meat is the other. So I mean, I don't know if the doctors just didn't realize, or the pharmacists didn't realize that magnesium stearate came from an animal source, or if they assumed that it didn't. But almost every time it was a mistake, it was made because of magnesium stearate. I mean, lactose, well, there's not much mistaking lactose. You think lactose, you think milk. So a doctor or a pharmacist automatically knows that there will be milk in that product. But magnesium stearate is it's a little more questionable.
So don't assume because you got prescribed something that...
Oh, doctors are prescribing patients medications right now they don't even realize are harming them. A lot of doctors think that if somebody can tolerate milk with their alpha-gal, it's still okay for them to drink it. It has been my experience that it is not. It was okay for me when I first started with my alpha-gal. I drank milk. I drank an average everyday milk every day.
That was before you got diagnosed.
Well, the more I drank it, the higher my numbers went until boom, I ended up in the emergency room unable to breathe because of it. So now I can't even have a tiny bit of milk powder. You will build your numbers up. The only way to get your numbers down is to abstain completely from anything in your body containing alpha-gal. Milk contains alpha-gal. I don't care what anybody tells you, it's proven to contain alpha-gal. If you drink it, you're playing Russian roulette.
And again, alpha-gal is in all mammal meat. It's in all mammal meats. So you're talking about cows, pigs. If it's a mammal, you can't have it.
You can't have red meat, period. You can't have hamburger, you can't have bacon. I mean, forget that ham at Christmas. I mean, that's bye-bye.
So, and you did some little bit of research, and you were on a forum, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm exhausted in my research. I'm exhausting.
I imagine. So I didn't know if you wanted to discuss this in this video. You found out some information about what they're researching, what the experts are looking at.
Yes,
there's not many experts, by the way, but there are.
I don't want to step on any toes here, but there's research being done in the area of the foods actually being the cause of some of the allergies. And the reason for that is chemicals that were put into plants and herbicides, chemicals that were put possibly into vaccinations for children, animals that ate possibly plants that had these particular chemicals in them, being bitten by the ticks, and then the ticks biting the people. There's more coming out, and we'll see more about that in the news coming up here really quick. I believe the last update on the information was on the 10th of this month, so we don't know what the mothers group that's gotten together to complain about this has done yet, but I do believe that we will find some information on that. I have found information that as long as 30 years ago, doctors in particular hospitals were experimenting with patients with cow heart valve replacement, and they knew as far back as then that the person's response, their alpha-gal response to the cow valves being put in their hearts was eroding the valves. So I mean, there have been some problems with medications in animals and crossing them for quite some time. We're going to hear some more about this in the near future.
Just, you know, it boggles my mind because ticks have been around for millennia.
This
They've
is
been
not
along,
a tick.
I don't know which came first, humans or ticks, but they've coexisted for, you know, for so long.
The ticks just didn't one day crawl out of the woods with this ability to infect us.
Something has caused this, this.
Well, I've heard people, and you could call them conspiracy theorists, but it's not that far out there, think that we might be the subject of some kind of biological attack. That they put genetically modified bugs into our woods. That wouldn't be the first time that people could genetically modify some kind of bug and use it. I've heard.
Or on another possibility, maybe that that something, some chemicals or something that we're using has reacted to these.
Right, that's what I was just saying. Yeah.
That not necessarily as an attack.
Okay,
but
let's just take
more
the elephant out of the room. Okay, let's just take the elephant out of the room. Monsanto hasn't been found guilty of anything yet.
Right.
And this is not to put any employee of Monsanto down or any stab at all. Let's say that Roundup Products, because that's the one in the news that's in question, it's under litigation for cancer at the moment. Let's say that it did contain toxic substances that could have caused something like this to happen. And the animals are fed these foods, okay? And over the years and the years you eat these foods, it could cause you to have more and more risk of having a reaction to alpha-gal should something like a tick bite you. Or let's go the old method that I brought up on my Facebook page, in which a deer is eating some corn out of a Roundup ready field, and then the tick, of course, bites the deer. Then
or even the weeds.
Right, and then the tick bites me. Okay, so I mean, yeah, there have been some. There's no proof.
Yeah.
There's no proof of that. Like I said, they'll be doing a lot more scientific research on that in the future. Until then, let's just see what the law says on it. I'm not going to cast any stones. I have friends who work for Monsanto. I have relatives who work for Monsanto, and I know that at least at that level there would never have been anybody that would potentially harm anybody on purpose.
Right. And yeah, there's no malice that we know of from anybody.
Not at that level.
And we don't even know that that's the contributing factor.
Not at that level.
But there is a little bit of there's some looking into those possibilities.
Right, and it's all over the internet, so you know you'll soon hear about it.
Well, great. I think we'll try to do another update in a few weeks, maybe. Possibility of you're starting a channel, maybe, in which you do more of a daily update, possibly.
Right. I'd like to start an Alpha Gal channel. I want to call it Alpha Gal News, and Tommy and I will see about putting that together pretty soon.
Okay, great. Thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe.
Stay well.